Landslides crashing down hillsides, walls breaking open, homes smashed into rubble, streets turning into rivers in minutes, and whole neighborhoods drowning under a surge of mud, debris, and water. In Guangzhou, China, relentless rain has triggered a disaster that is swallowing roads, crippling transport, and leaving destruction across the city. What happened here is fast, violent, and deeply unsettling. And the most shocking part, this all unfolded with terrifying speed. Welcome back. Today we are looking at the flood disaster hitting Guangzhou in Henan province, where extreme rainfall has unleashed landslides, submerged major roads, battered homes, and pushed critical infrastructure to the brink. This is not a simple case of waterlogging after a storm. This is what happens when a city is hit from multiple directions at once, from above, from below, and from the hillsides around it. The ground gives way, the drains fail, the roads disappear, and the city starts to break. The first thing to understand is speed. This disaster did not creep in slowly. It hit hard, and it hit fast. As the rain intensified, hillsides around affected areas became unstable. The ground soaked up more and more water until it could no longer hold itself together. Then came the collapse. Earth, rock, and mud came crashing downhill. These landslides were powerful enough to smash into roads, damage structures, and send debris surging into developed areas. In some places, it looked as if the landscape itself had broken loose and launched straight at the city. And then came the floodwater. Thick, brown, violent water rushed into streets and neighborhoods carrying mud, rubble, broken branches, and wreckage with it. Roads vanished under the current. Intersections became torrents. Vehicles stalled where they stood, trapped in rising water as the city's normal rhythm collapsed around them. This is the kind of moment when urban life stops making sense. A street is no longer a street. A road is no longer a road. Everything becomes water, force, and chaos.
No one believed the sky could turn hostile. No one imagined that a nation as vast and unshakable as China could be drowned in a single afternoon. But the storm that struck that year, it was not a storm. It was something else entirely. In Guizhou, the mountains normally calm and ancient like silent guardians began to tremble. Not gently, but violently, as if something beneath the earth was punching its way out. Then came the crack. A deep, monstrous rupture. Water did not flow. It erupted, blasting through the valley like the first roar of an awakened titan. From Cayley's bustling markets to the narrow alleys of Rongjiang, the ground shivered beneath the surge of mud and debris pouring down like a liquid avalanche. Survivors swear they heard it. A roar. Not the roar of weather, but the bellow of a... In Rongjiang, the storm did not arrive. It attacked. Houses ripped from their foundations. Cars spinning like weightless toys. Streets twisting into black whirlpools in under 3 minutes. A witness standing on the Chungbei Bridge recounted seeing an entire 30-seat bus swallowed whole. No screams. No warning. Just a single sickening thud as the water folded over it. At that moment, no one could tell what was river, what was mud, what was steel, wood, or flesh. In Leishan, cold winds howled through once lively streets. But that day, the wind carried something new. The smell of rot-soaked wood and fear. Centuries-old Miao villages' cultural treasures were stripped bare in seconds. Generations of heritage washed away. Ancestral wooden beams, ceremonial drums and bronze gongs. Wooden stilt houses that had stood for decades. Every strike of the storm was a slap across the face of history, tearing at... The once radiant football stadium, famous nationwide, became a grave of silence. goalposts peaking like broken bones, red plastic seats drifting like dead petals, a scoreboard flickering its last breaths. 7 meters of dark water sealed it shut like an enormous coffin. Whispers spread quickly. Multiple reservoirs in Guizhou and Qiandongnan had released water ahead of the storm. People downstream froze because they knew when those gates open, water does not flow. It launches like a spear from the sky. Residents of Danzhai saw it. A wall of water towering and furious, crashing down the valley like a god of vengeance. A group of construction workers vanished in 5 seconds. Was this really a storm? A natural disaster? Or the consequence of something humans had pushed too far? No one knows. No one wants to guess. But everyone understands. Something broke that day. Something was released.
washed out, the kind of pale gray that makes the world look tired. And under that flat, unforgiving light, you can see everything clearly. Water where streets used to be, mud where sidewalks were, and people standing still because there's nowhere left to go. This is what makes daytime flooding so brutal. There's no darkness to hide behind, no mystery, no relief, only the full, honest view of what's happening. In neighborhood after neighborhood, water spreads like it owns the map. It pushes into storefronts and ground floor homes, climbs through courtyards, and leaves that thick brown stain that tells you the hillsides upstream are coming apart. Roads don't just flood, they lose their identity. Cars stall and sit half submerged, and the ones caught in moving water shift slightly, scraping and bumping, like the city is being rearranged one piece at a time. You can see families making fast decisions in the open.
response. Air number 1.
A mother carrying a child higher. Someone holding a plastic bag tight like it contains a whole life. A neighbor knocking on the door, checking who's still inside. The small human movements that matter more than any headline. Some people try to fight it buckets, mops, towels at the door. Not because it will stop the flood, but because doing something feels better than watching everything be taken. And when the water rises past the point where a home can be defended, the instinct becomes simple. Up, higher, together. Stairwells become escape route, roofs become waiting rooms. In daylight, you can see them clear like popple lined along the edges, scanning the streets for boats, waving to rescuers, trying to stay calm for the children beside them.
Were dragged away by the current.
Emergency crews move through the flooded blocks with ropes, rafts, and whatever can float. Sandbags line schools and hospitals, stacked in long rows like a last promise that some places will be protected. But the water keeps pressing, and the ground stays saturated, unstable, ready to fail again. That's the fear that doesn't show up in a single image. Not just the water above ground, but the weakness underneath. Bridges are shut down. Some show crack. Rural roads vanish under muddy flow. In places where the earth has been eaten away, sections of roadway collapse not dramatically, but suddenly, as if the ground decided it was done supporting weight. A route that existed in the morning can be gone by afternoon. Then the city loses more than roads. Power flickers. Whole blocks drop into blackout. Even under daylight, phones become precious. Signals become fragile. Water supply disruptions spread. And in a disaster like this, every lost service feels like another door closing. Underground spaces are among the first to surrender. Water pours down stairwells into lower levels, filling places that were designed for crowds, not currents. Parking garages become deep tank. Vehicles disappear under opaque water. The flood doesn't just damage hides. Outside the city, fields drown under silt and standing water. Crops flatten. Livestock is moved through knee-deep floodwater as barns fill. For farmers, this isn't just cleanup. It's a season erased and a future put on hold. Yet even in a day like this, something else appears quiet. Stubborn, human. Shelters open. Volunteers hand out dry clothes and warm meals. Neighbors carry furniture together. Strangers share phone chargers, share rides, share silence. Because when water takes the streets, people try to give each other back a path. Shaanxi tonight, in daylight, is a reminder that disasters don't need darkness to be terrifying. And sometimes the most frightening moments happen with the sun still up when you can see everything. And you still can't stop it. You're watching weather floods. We'll keep tracking the situation with calm. Clear updates as conditions evolve. If this report helped you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Some of the most dramatic images come from the road network itself. Major streets were overwhelmed so badly that they looked like fast-moving canals. Water surged across lanes, poured into low points, and turned underpasses into dangerous traps. Cars were left half-submerged. Others were abandoned completely. In some areas, the flood moved with enough force to push debris across entire roadways and slam it into buildings, barriers, and vehicles. This is where a flood becomes terrifying. Not when the water is standing still, but when it is moving, because moving floodwater does not just block roads. It tears through them. It hits. It drags. It crushes. And once the drainage system falls behind, the city begins to lose control very quickly. Storm drains can only take so much. Once overwhelmed, the runoff has nowhere to go. It pours into streets. It rushes into tunnels. It collects in the lowest parts of the city. And suddenly, the very structure of urban design starts working against the people inside it. That appears to be exactly what happened here. But roads and traffic are only part of the story. The real heartbreak is in the neighborhoods. Floodwater pushed into homes with brutal force. It rushed through doors, climbed walls, and filled living spaces in minutes. Furniture was lifted and thrown around. Appliances toppled over. Personal belongings were soaked, buried, or carried away. Entire rooms were swallowed by muddy water. And in the worst hit locations, it got even more destructive. Where landslides and floodwater combined, some houses were not just flooded, they were broken apart. Walls gave way, roofs cracked and collapsed. Concrete barriers failed. Brick facades shattered. Debris slammed into structures hard enough to leave them torn open and unstable. In the most shocking scenes, homes were reduced to wreckage, broken frames, shattered masonry, twisted metal, and piles of mud-soaked debris where people had been living only hours earlier. That is what makes this kind of disaster so devastating. Water destroys what you own. Impact destroys where you live. And when both happen together, the damage becomes almost unbearable. As the flooding spread, Guangzhou's infrastructure began to buckle. Transportation was among the first major systems thrown into crisis. Roads became impassable. Key access routes were cut off. Travel across the city slowed or stopped altogether. Emergency response became harder. Commuters were stranded. Entire parts of the city became difficult to reach. Then came the damage below ground. Subway and underground transport systems faced severe disruption as water entered tunnels and technical spaces. Once water gets into underground infrastructure, the consequences go far beyond the initial flood. Equipment can be damaged. Electrical systems can fail. Entire sections of the network may have to be shut down, inspected, repaired, and tested before they are safe to use again. That means the flood keeps hurting the city even after the rain weakens. It is not just about what is underwater in the moment. It is about what stops functioning afterward. A city depends on circulation. People moving, supplies moving, workers moving, services running. When those systems fail all at once, the city does not need to collapse completely to feel broken. It only needs enough pressure in enough places. The disaster is also spreading beyond the city center. Farmland on the outskirts has been submerged, with floodwater swallowing fields and weakening embankments under prolonged pressure. Reservoirs and water control systems are being pushed hard, and every weak point adds to the wider risk. Industrial areas are under pressure too. Factories, warehouses, and logistics facilities are facing disruption from rising water, power issues, damaged routes, and communication problems. Even where buildings remain intact, operations can still grind to a halt if staff cannot reach them or if transport networks fail. This is how flood damage multiplies. It begins with water. Then it becomes transport failure. Then production loss. Then supply disruption. Then wider economic strain. And in a highly connected city, those effects spread fast.
Approximately 55 to 57 individuals were rescued, including Nepalese, Chinese nationals, and Indian traders. The Nepalese that over 660 millimeters of rain fell within just 5 days.
For his funds.